that one there? What's that one there then? Dan's got his own separate screen. What's this about? Who organised this? Having this. Why is he at the top? He should be anywhere near the fucking top. Turn off. There we go. Going to right, welcome in everybody. Welcome to the first ever live streamed podcast. We are going to go into full audio podcast mode in a moment, but I thought anyone that does catch up on this later or is watching now, every podcast from this point forward is going to go onto YouTube. I'm going to have to work on camera position and also maybe even get a new camera. Dan's looking a bit fuzzy over there.
That's just me.
And we are going to do this every week. We're going to still try and aim for Sundays. Both the guys couldn't do on Sunday just gone, so we're back here on Monday. But we are going to start doing a Sunday night, unless you guys still want to do Mondays.
We'll see.
Does it work better for you Mondays just because like Sundays is the end of the week, you don't want to do any of that?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, fine. We'll stay with Mondays.
Plus, you get to watch Monday Night Football.
This is very true. So yeah, normal format we'll hit. So we'll go to full podcast mode in a second, and if we do have any queries, then we will go through them at the end. If you want to ask questions, get our opinions on anything, then feel free to ask in the chat, and we'll try and get them read out towards the end of the show. Any questions? Any comments before we get going?
Get cracking, I think.
Let's get cracking.
Yeah, let's go.
All right then. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Kickabout. Big wins for Arsenal and Brighton and Fantasy League can suck my fucking nipples. I'm your host Chris.
I'm Pete. And I'm Dan.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 137 and welcome to all our YouTube watchers. All probably about 5 of them at the moment. Oh, there's 4. Lovely old job. There you go. 4 more than I was expecting on our first ever.
Beans.
Yeah, 4 more than I was expecting on our first ever YouTube. Right, so yes, the show will follow its normal format. We've just had a very, very brief discussion, and we are in fact now going to stick to a Monday record and a Tuesday release. It just seems to work better for, in particular, these guys. So, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Call to arms, let's have a quick shout out, shall we? We are in the process of doing lots of things. We're going to have a Discord server set up fairly shortly in the next day or two, so that everyone who follows the LMA series on YouTube and also anybody that follows the shows got somewhere where they can kind of have a bit of chat, have a bit of banter about Fantasy League and tear into me, because based on the first weekend, it's going to be a long fucking season for me. And yeah, just be a sort of across any other announcements that we make, as opposed to just only going out on social media. So yeah, make sure you share it around. There's been a couple of people I've seen sharing our statuses recently. You know who you are, so thank you very much for that. And LMA, Dan. We've been building up to it. We've been building up to it for a couple of weeks now. And wow, did it live up to the hype, Dan?
It was good, yeah.
Why don't you tell the viewers your emotions across that night?
Yeah, I was tempted to just go and sit on the sofa and watch The Little Mermaid. I'd had enough. Yeah.
It was funny because before we recorded that, we went live with it, I was genuinely thinking, because normally we do like forfeits around whenever someone loses or gets a red card or gets a penalty, and I genuinely thought Dan's not going to do any because he's in such good form, and there's me, I've just about recovered form, but I was a bit worried about myself. In the end, I had a better night results wise than you did. I think I won every game, didn't I?
Yeah, I think you did.
So, and I drew the last one, didn't I?
Yeah.
1-8, drew 1 was my last sort of run into the end of the season.
I remember. Did you lose your very last one?
No, I drew with Liverpool.
I rember you saying as well you want to get him absolutely slaughtered because you had to be someone the next day as well.
Yeah,
I was groomsmen at a wedding. I was so glad we didn't have any shots.
Well, hang on a minute. You came on the old chat the following day on the Sunday, said you don't get hangovers, so you wouldn't have been fine anyway.
Yeah, no, I don't, but I still wouldn't want it to. I'd have had like no sleep.
Oh dear, but anyway, if anybody has been watching the LMA series and has missed the live stream, it is available on our YouTube page, so you can go back and watch all the shenanigans, including some horrendous tasting sandwiches that we had to eat throughout the night with various horrific sauces and things in them, so that was good fun. Right, okay, we will quickly get on with the show then. We'll start with Dan's stat. Unfortunately, I've forgotten to link it up for the purposes of the live stream, so I'll have to do that next time. But I will insert it scientifically for those listening on the podcast.
I've kind of stitched myself out because I've gone for a bit of a...
Can you leave me a gap so I can put it in,
twist.
please?
Oh.
Can you leave me a gap so I can put it in? Now you can go.
Oh, I'm not going to say that again. So 5 players made their overall Premier League debuts for Chelsea against Liverpool, the joint most for the Blues in a match since 2004 against Manchester United. Do you have any idea who those 5 debutants were back in 2004 for Chelsea?
I reckon we can do that.
Yeah?
I think 2004 was basically the first year they got their money.
The Abramovich.
So they would have gone mad in the. So we just got to try and cast our mind back and think about who were the OGs of that Chelsea side when the money came in. Right, okay, we'll get the answer to that later on the show, as always. We've got a couple of new bits tonight that we'll go through. Obviously, we've got a live stream audience. If there is anybody in the audience that wants to talk about anything within the world of football and wants to ask us and get our opinions, we can do that at the end of the show. But feel free to get them in now if you want to. And we've also got a new feature that will make its debut tonight, called the Kickabout Alternate Universe. And I will explain what that is in just a moment, but I should probably give everyone the opportunity to tear into me for what was probably the worst FPL weekend I could possibly have had. I mean, I don't even know where to fucking start. I changed my team a couple of times right before the weekend, and I kid you not, every single decision bit me on the arse hard.
But when will you learn that tinkering with teams does not work for you?
The trouble is that you keep making you make these scenarios in your head where everything makes sense, and so like in your head they all like not captaining Haaland, right? So here's my thing. Fuck up, yeah. Let's get it out of the way. This was Dan's fault.
Yeah,
but
I did not tell you to captain Odegaard.
Yeah, but he was the only other option in my team, really.
You had Saka, didn't you?
No.
Oh.
Another fucking But yeah, on paper it made sense because you had Haaland playing against Burnley away from home. Burnley looked like they might have a decent season, so I thought maybe he won't get as much joy. And I thought, well, Nottingham Forest are playing Arsenal at the Emirates. Arsenal could smash them. And Odegaard got a lot of assists last year. He got chipped in with some goals as well. So I thought it made sense in my head. And then it took Haaland all of 2 minutes?
Yeah.
And I got that sinking feeling straight away. And then I got no clean sheet. Then Arteta decided to put Gabriel on the bench and not Juri and Timber, and I had just switched them over. Isaac, I took him out of the team. He scored twice. There was no clean sheet for Tarkowski. That was my one gamble, just because I thought maybe Sean Dyche would, got his teeth into that side, make them hard to beat. So that was my quick gamble. Ramsdale didn't get a clean sheet because they conceded a goal. Salah had a goal disallowed. Nicholas Jackson did nothing, almost gave away a penalty as well. That really would have been the cherry on the cake. And I've ended up with about 30 points, which is about 20 points less than the average. And I now want to jump out the nearest 20th floor building.
Of
the 431 people in the Kickabout Podcast League, I am 416th. I'm 15 places off the bottom. I mean, it's horrendous.
I think you're going to be winning that mystery t-shirt.
No, I don't think so. It's it's a marathon, not a sprint, but I need to do some sprinting.
Any transfers?
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. The thought of using the wild card has crossed my mind. No, I'm gonna try and, because the fixtures that are coming up this weekend are pretty good on paper, so I might just swallow this week, because any change that I do make, inevitably I'm going to have to make another one to release funds. I don't want to, in the position I'm in, I can't then start taking -4s as well. So I'm going to have to swallow this week as well, and then get 2 free transfers next week, and then do something then.
The only cock up I had really was the Kane saga, because he's taken about 3 months to move. I left it 1 day before the game started, put him in, left it at that, went to bed, woke up, and he's bloody gone to Bayern Munich. So I've probably missed out on possibly between 5 or 10 points there.
Yeah, who would you have put in?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple of sleeper picks in there. Isaac being one. I think we're going to have to keep an eye on him because he looked really sharp.
Yeah, the only problem with that is he just rotates him and Callum Wilson all the time. Isaac will score 2 goals and then he'll be on the bench for the next game.
He has played them both up front once or twice in the past, though. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility. And they're playing Champions League. Maybe he sees using Wilson much more in the Champions League and in cups than he does in the Premier League.
Or maybe vice versa.
Well, let's hope.
Let's hope not. Well, yeah, let's hope that as well in some cases. Right. So here we go. We're going to announce our new feature. This won't be in every week because it's going to be largely dependent on kind of what happens in the world of football. But we're going to take an event from the weekend and we're going to pose a hypothetical scenario and come up with some stupid bullshit answers just to have a bit of fun and a bit of a laugh. So in this week's Kickabout Alternate Universe, this weekend, Roy Hodgson gave him and us a mild heart attack when he got rather hot under the collar in the Sheffield United Crystal Palace game, and possibly the worst, most unconvincing, menacing look I've ever seen. Like, it was so cringeworthy, it was difficult to watch. But it got me thinking, and that's because as a result of this, I've heard that Vince McMahon is on the phone to him trying to arrange a fight between him and Roman Reigns. What hypothetical scenario could you guys think of between managers? Doesn't have to be current managers in the Premier League, could be ex-managers in the Premier League. What two managers would you like to see have a WWE match, and how would it play out? Dan, I'll come to you first.
Fergie.
Yeah.
And Keegan.
Fergie and Keegan?
Yeah.
And how the hell would that play out? Because Fergie would murder him, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Is that just why? You just want to see him murder Keegan?
Keegan, am I thinking the right one? Yeah, the Newcastle.
The ex-Newcastle with the perm?
Yeah. Or Fergie and Wenger.
See, I still like Fergie would murder him. Are you just throwing...
Yeah, just because they were massive rivalries, weren't they?
Yeah.
Between the two managers.
See, I think Wenger would be a little dark horse. I think he'd be like a little dirty fighter. Kevin Keegan would be all mouth and he'd just, die early. Pete, what about you?
I would probably have Neil Warnock and what's his name? The old Blackpool manager,
Ian Holloway.
Ian Holloway.
Oh my god! Can you imagine? Because obviously, like in WWF or WWE as it's known now, they always do the trash talk before the things. Nobody would understand them. It'd be the longest run up to a match ever because they'd just be constantly talking.
I don't think there wouldn't be fists; it would just be trash talk.
Yeah, exactly. They just get in a ring and just have a microphone, and that would be it. So mine is I'd go David Moyes against Jose Mourinho, right? Or maybe someone like I don't know, Steve Pulis, someone like that.
Two of the most defensive.
Hang on, bear with me. Bear with me.
Ruin it for you, wasn't it?
Are you both WWE fans from like when you were younger or whatever?
Yeah, when I was young.
Do you remember the Iron Man match? Do you know what that is?
Is that not the same as First Blood?
No. So the Iron Man match was a match that lasted an hour.
Right.
And basically you went the entire hour and whoever scored the most pinfalls or submissions would win, right? So I had this vision in my mind of David Moyes and Jose Mourinho or Tony Pulis having an Iron Man match and nobody doing anything because they're just standing there waiting for each other to do something, and it'd just be the most boring match ever conceived. David Moyes would be standing there doing nothing in his corner, Jose Mourinho would be doing nothing in his corner. Every time one of them came forward, the other one would go backwards.
Going round the ring.
Yeah, just literally going around. There's a Big Bang sketch where they're both doing that, where they're just going around each other and nobody's actually doing anything. So yeah, there we go. A little bit of fun. Let us know what your classic matchups might be, ex-managers in the Premier League, and let us know in the comments on YouTube or let us know on social media as well. A little bit of fun there. Right, shall we get into some Premier League chat, gentlemen? Let's talk some football. It's been a while, Pete. It's been a while for you. Obviously, you weren't around with us last week. We're going to start where it all started on Friday nights. Burnley against Manchester City. Of course, we were streaming at the time, but I have since caught up with highlights and bits and pieces. Pete, I come to you first because obviously you are resident EFL expert. What did you make of Burnley, and were you impressed with them? Do you think that they show promise for the league? Obviously, it's a bit of a baptism of fire going up against Man City, but did you see signs of positivity for them to take into the season? Yeah,
definite signs of positivity there. First game of the season, coming up against a team like Man City is never going to be easy, is it? Given the changes that they had, I don't think anyone really knew what to expect from them. The likes of Gundogan going. But I don't think anyone really thought they'd even get much of a footing in the game. City controlled the possession, controlled the game overall, really. I didn't think they were at their best by any means, but it's a good stepping stone, really, for Burnley, I think, because they've played arguably what is going to be the best in the league this season. And they can learn a lot from that. So I think take as much positivity out of that as you need to.
Yeah, as I say, it was a baptism of fire. If you see that you've got Man City first on the fixture list, you could think of it as one of two ways. You could think of it as a free hit, or you could think of it as a cool, we'll get that one out of the way and then focus, and the season starts the following week. Dan, I mean, as far as Man City goes, it was business as usual, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Rotated around again as usual.
I think he cooked a few FPL managers with no Stones or Diaz, although I think they were both not. Yeah.
And Grealish as well.
Grealish. De Bruyne, though, picking up another injury.
I think he's out for a couple of months as well.
Yeah, well, supposedly it was the same hamstring injury that he did in the Champions League final. The bad news from my point of view as a West Ham fan is that means that they're more likely to go for Paquetá now. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But I think from Man City point of view, there was nothing really there to suggest that they're not going to be what we expect them to be. From a podcaster's point of view, it's actually quite difficult to talk about Man City now because what else do you say about them? They are relentless, they're machine-like, they're almost robots. They've got a striker up front who, there was a few questions around media suggesting, could Haaland match what he did last season? And I think he's probably silenced.
2 goals and 23 touches.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he's probably silenced a few of them already, suggesting that, he's going to be in that goal scoring form again. And also a lesson to people like me who don't captain him. Newcastle next, though, for them.
Yeah, that's going to be a big test.
That's going to be a hell of a game. It's at the Etihad as well, but I think that could be a real cracker. Given, obviously, we'll come to Newcastle in a bit, but given how they played at the weekend, I think Newcastle can go there without fear, and I think they might take the game to Man City next weekend. What about recruits then? Obviously, they brought in Vardiol. If they bring in Paquetá, do you think that's it, or do you think they'll dip in for anybody else now? They've lost Mahrez, place like that. Would they look to replace him? They've got Cole Palmer that I know Guardiola's a fan of.
Alvarez is obviously starting to play a bit more. He played in the number 10 role, I think, didn't he?
Do you think Kovacic is going to be a good enough replacement, Pete, for Gundogan?
No.
In a word? No, I don't either. I think he'll be a good squad player, but I don't think you'll get a great deal more out of him than that. You're not going to get what Gundogan did.
I don't really think there's much more City can really do with that side, to be honest with you. It's such a complete squad with ridiculous depth. It's quite hard to build such an immense squad and keep everyone happy. Because we saw at the tail end of the last season that Kyle Walker was starting to get a little bit agitated with not being guaranteed football all the time. And now suddenly it's all worked out fine. So.
Yeah, he's signing a new contract, isn't he, if he hasn't already signed it. I think that defensively, Man City's back line now is a joke. Did you see the stat about the amount of money they've spent? So there's a stat that came up that Man City's current defensive spending, so the defenders that are in their squad right now, cost them 476 million. So that defence, there's probably 7 or 8 players across that entire back line that contribute to that money. Burnley's entire transfer spending in their history, 350 million. They spent 120 million more on their defenders than Burnley have in their entire history. That kind of says a lot, doesn't it, really, about the sort of the gulf in wealth between some of the clubs, and even at the top level of English football. So anyway, not really a great deal to say about City. However, there is plenty to talk about in our next one at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea against Liverpool. This one I really enjoyed this game, I have to say. It petered out a little bit in the second half. Obviously, there was no goals in the second half, but the first half was a cracking game of football. What did you guys make of this one?
Yeah, so it always ends in a draw, doesn't it?
7 games in a row now. This has ended in a draw between these two.
Yeah. I thought it was a good game as well. I could have done with that Chilwell goal, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been 3-3 at half-time, couldn't it? With the Salah goal being disallowed as well as the Chilwell one. I must admit, I thought that Liverpool were going to run away with it. For all the talk, I bigged up Chelsea a little bit. I know, obviously, Lee had bigged them up a little bit to us, saying they looked good in pre-season. Liverpool had looked okay in pre-season, scored a lot of goals, but were also conceding a lot. But they looked dominant in that first 20 minutes. Chelsea were all over the shop. And then the game just sort of switched. I don't know whether it was that Salah offside goal that seemed to spur Chelsea into life. But there's no doubt about it. If that goal was given and it made it 2-0, then that would have massively changed the outcome of that game, I feel.
What do you think of Pochettino changing formation? Apparently they played with back 4 all pre-season, and he starts with back five.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether that was because like manager, plenty of managers change formation depending on their opposition. I don't know whether that was because he was concerned about Liverpool's attacking abilities. Colwell, is it Colwell? Colwell for Chelsea. He was getting absolutely roasted by Salah in that first half an hour, but then seemed to get on top of him for the rest of the game. I just think that was Pochettino reacting to what Liverpool were likely to do to them, and I think he knew that if he could nullify that attacking threat, that he would probably get on top of them. And on that topic, we talked about it last week, me and you, Dan, on the shows last week. Pete, do you think that Liverpool side are still, where do you think they are in terms of their rebuild and what they can realistically achieve this season? On the assumption they don't sign any more players, because apparently all of their players they try and sign all want to go to Chelsea. So
I'll sort of give away my prediction. They seem to think they're going to be contending for the title. All I can say is they won't. They don't look. Although they have a good passage of play for 30, 45 minutes or so, it needs to be consistent. Chelsea were there for the taking, they didn't take it actually. Especially with Salah as well. The attitude that he had when he came off.
Yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it?
Things like that champions don't have that attitude.
Klopp seemed to play that down a little bit in the aftermath of the game. Were you surprised with that? Because it was the first game of the season. Do you really want your players acting like that on the first game of the season?
Don't want your players acting like that in general anyway.
Well, I mean, look, it's not the first time we've ever seen it. It depends on how he's done it, because he didn't acknowledge Klopp. Klopp didn't acknowledge Salah when he came off. Klopp seemed to hint that he sort of either didn't see what Salah had done.
The whole stadium saw.
Well, yeah, I think that it was one of those things that he probably saw what Salah was doing on the way off, and he probably just deliberately turned his back just to almost ignore the situation. Just let Salah sort himself out, calm himself down, and then deal with it later.
I think the change was justified though. He had a good first 45, and like you alluded to, he should have bagged actually quite a few. And then as the second half came along, it sort of petered out a little bit. Chelsea really got a hold on the game, and then they started making all these, I'd say, bizarre changes. They bring on a lot of youth, and
they made a lot of changes, didn't they?
Yeah, and then Liverpool just sort of tried matching them in a way. And Salah wasn't. They were getting nothing up there at all. It was just all Chelsea. So to take him off and get Harvey Elliott in that one was fully justified.
Yeah, I'm not sure. For me, the whole situation with Liverpool right now and their lack of depth, especially in that midfield area, was highlighted by the fact that they started Cody Gakpo in midfield. He's not a centre midfielder. He did a job, but he's not a natural centre midfielder. He wants obviously to play in a much more attacking way.
I think they were sort of banking on either Caicedo or Lavia coming in, because they were talking about him taking another 10 million.
Yeah, Liverpool are in a spot of bother. I mean, what does that say about Liverpool that they've had two bids accepted for big money? Let's not forget, 60 million for Lavia and 110 odd million or whatever it was for Caicedo, and both players have rejected Liverpool because they want to go to Chelsea. What does that say about Liverpool?
It's weird, because Liverpool have at least got Europa League football, whereas Chelsea haven't got any European football.
Is it purely money? I mean, it's not like they won't be on a good wage, Liverpool.
Yeah, you're more likely to get in the team at Liverpool than you are at Chelsea.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are in the middle of a bit of a rebuild, Liverpool, so I feel like you could go there and make a bigger impact to Liverpool than you would at Chelsea. And Chelsea have got a few more established midfielders than Liverpool do anyway. So yeah, it's an odd one for me. Caicedo was talking about the loyalty that he felt to Chelsea because he'd given them his word. I'm not so sure about that personally. I think there was probably some other financial reasons involved with that. 8-year contracts are probably quite tempting as well, because even though I think it was Lee that sent us a link to Simon Jordan kind of explaining how they're getting around an FFP with these 8-year contracts. It is very clever.
Yeah.
The problem is though, is that you've got players on 8-year contracts, and if they all suddenly decide to be dicks about it and don't want to leave, they can literally put their feet up. For some of them, that's a contract for the rest of their career, or for a large chunk of their career, if nothing else, and they're guaranteed that wage for the rest of that time. So it is risky business. It's good business from a financial standpoint because it enables them to spend what is on the face of it very big money to get these players in, but actually in reality what they're doing is that they're rolling the dice on these players actually becoming good. If Mudryk doesn't start picking up, That's going to be the first one that's going to come under the spotlight. Enzo Fernandez, I thought, was much better in this game. That was one of the best games I've seen him have. I thought his footwork was really good. Still don't think he's worth the 105 million they paid for him, but if he keeps performing like that, then maybe that attitude will change across the season. So, and on that topic with Chelsea, if we switch focus to them, what did you make of them? Nicholas Jackson in particular, obviously up front, new signing in there. We think that he's the answer to their goal scoring problems.
He had chances. Might curse of Chelsea striker, isn't it? Really, I don't think it wouldn't matter who you put out there. Really. Hopefully, maybe next game he's had a taste of it now. The nerves hopefully gone. It might be one of those where you just need to get your first goal, and then it's a bit like, right, breathe.
I think he made a lot of decisions that were smart, where he actually went one-on-one with the keeper, but just got unlucky. He tried clicking on the inside post and saved it. But overall, I thought he had a really good game. I'd never heard of him. He came from Valencia. Villarreal. Still always get them wrong. A lot of players had a decent game. My only criticism of Chelsea, not only did they start slow, but once they grew into the game, they look a serious team. But they lack anything aerial duels in the final third. I don't think they win anything up there.
Yeah, they're quite a small side, aren't they?
Yeah, but they're playing it through the centre. When they play it through the centre, they play really good football. It's when they stretch out wide, they don't think to stop, play the ball back in. They just want to hoof it into the box, and there's no winners there, especially with Van Dijk.
Yeah.
So they were fighting a losing battle there.
Could set pieces be a problem for them defensively as well? If you think about their team, if you go through midfield, if it's Enzo Fernandez, if it's Conor Gallagher, if it's Caicedo, none of them are particularly tall. How tall was Nicholas Jackson? He didn't.
He's got to be on
6 foot-ish, give or take. So he could come back and help out. But if you're going up a team that's got tall midfielders, tall defenders all coming in, they could outnumber you. And that could be an area of weakness for Chelsea. Obviously, Lavia and Caicedo coming in are not going to improve that because they're both quite small themselves. So that could be an area that they get stuck on. We've still got Nkunku to come back at some point after his surgery. But I liked what I saw from Chelsea. Question mark obviously over Reece James. Apparently he was tired.
Yeah, that's strange.
Bless him. First game of the season, he's already tired. So we'll have to wait and see whether that is true or whether there was an injury there. I still not, based on what I saw in this game from both Chilwell and from him, still seems to me like there is a very heavy reliance in that Chelsea team on those two players. Because a lot came through both of them because they were overlapping and playing so high on that width. They were still very, very active and involved in the games. I think if you take them out, do the replacements go in and make such a big deal? Such a big, can they make an impact like those two can? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't really know much about the replacement.
Is it Maatsen? Is the left back? Gusto was when he came on at right back, and he looked okay, but certainly not a patch on Reece James. So yeah, there's still some unanswered questions. I suspect that we'll see if Chelsea get Caicedo over the line, which I think they have got him over the line now, and Lavia looks like that could be close as well. If they get those two over the line, I'd be surprised if they go back into the market for anybody else now. They know they've got Nkunku coming back in. Yeah, it's true. They could go for a backup because they got rid of Kepa on loan, didn't they, to Madrid? So it's possible. They could go for maybe a backup goalkeeper to Sanchez. Wonder if Sanchez went into that club thinking he'd be the first team goalkeeper. Wonder if that Kepa going out
was already pre-planned.
Was or to get rid of. I mean, obviously the situation at Madrid was opportunistic because of what's happened to Courtois with his ACL. So
Sanchez didn't look very comfortable in goal, I must admit.
But he's not great with the ball at his feet, and that's why De Zerbi dropped him. And if Poch wants to play out from the back,
it's a strange one.
Then Sanchez might get found out once or twice this year because there's a few times where he dawdled on the ball for so long at the camera angle, and I was like, shit, he's gonna lose it here. So yeah, that was really interesting. But it was a tight game. I think Chelsea, if there was a team to deserve the win, it probably would have been Chelsea. But Liverpool did look dangerous on the counter once or twice in the second half. Nunez went close with a deflected effort. So yeah, there's still lots of work to be done in both camps, but I think they'll both be reasonably pleased. Who do you think's more pleased with that performance, Chelsea or Liverpool?
Say probably
Difficult, 'cause
Chelsea, I guess.
Chelsea were at home, weren't they?
Yeah. I think Liverpool will be more pleased with that because they've got more work to do with their squad from a rebuild point of view than Chelsea do. And I don't know. Neither of them will be particularly happy. I think that both managers are of that level where they won't like seeing their teams not working how they want them to, especially Klopp, given the sort of rise and fall, if you like, that's the right way to put it, of Liverpool over the last few years.
I think both teams would have taken a point from that game at the start.
Yeah.
Chelsea just need that win. They've not won a home game since March.
That's mad, isn't it? That is mad.
Yes.
As funny as it was laughing at Chelsea last year, I don't think we're going to be able to do that this year.
No, it's just West Ham again this year.
Yeah, just West Ham. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So I don't know where. I mean, me and Dan are probably going to do our league table predictions at some point this week. And obviously we've got our predictions anyway that we did at the end of last week's show, which I am going to put. The form is ready. It's going to go on social media later on, so you guys can get involved in your predictions for the season. Chelsea, I'm not sure. I had in my mind where I thought Chelsea might come. Now I'm tempted to change where I think Chelsea might finish.
Yeah?
Just because I wish I'd done the prediction before the season started.
Yeah, we should.
We should have done it before the season, but unfortunately we've left it a week. So we're now going to be clouded with what's happened on week one, which is a bit annoying, but hey-ho. Right, okay, let's move on. We're not going to have a break this week, just because it's easier with the live stream just to sort of go all the way through. So we're going to carry on. We're going to talk about Newcastle against Aston Villa. Outside of the Chelsea-Liverpool game, I thought this was potentially the game of the weekend, just because of the work that both of them had done last season. Both of them in Europe for the first time in God knows how long. Made some good signings. Did anybody see this result coming?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
you saw a 5.
Maybe not 5-1,
smashing.
but I knew Villa would get smashed. Every single season, I put Villa players in my FPL season, and every single start of the season, Villa are shocking.
Or could you have told me that? You told me not to have Haaland as captain, but you left out that tidbit of information.
Because I wanted to have Matty Cash in my team, but I purposely didn't put him in because I know how shit Villa are in like the first sort of 5 games or so. So yeah, maybe I didn't see it 5-1, but I knew that Villa would lose 100%.
Miller just piped in there and said that Chelsea stunk last season, though. We shouldn't forget that. Yeah, with Villa though, I felt like they'd had a good pre-season. They were scoring goals. I'd liked the signings they've made. But obviously, the biggest issue that Villa have got now is that they've had 2 players in the space of a week with serious knee injuries. Thoughts go out to Tyrone Mings because that looked fucking nasty.
They're horrible ones where they get
And
stuck
I
in
suspect that Dan, you've got more sympathy for these players.
Honestly,
than the rest
every
of us
time I see one of these ACL injuries, I'm like,
yeah, I felt really bad for him. He went down off the ball. It's one of those ones that sometimes with football you can tell straight away whether they're faking it or not. And as soon as he went down, because I was watching it at the pub after our friendly on Saturday, and I said to the boys, I was like, Mings is in trouble here. He's done something. At first, the way he was on the floor, I actually thought it was his shoulder because he looked like he was sort of like lying like this. So I thought, well, maybe he's dislocated his shoulder. And then obviously when they were attending to him, you could see they were wrapping up his leg and his knee. I was like, oh, shit, that could be even worse.
he's going to wait 2 years for his surgery.
Yeah, I'd imagine he's probably already had it, to be honest. So yeah, but for Villa, obviously that is a big blow. That will also have a morale effect on the camp as well, seeing 2 senior players like that going down with big injuries. It does mean that Pau Torres comes back into the team basically straight away. I know you said that Villa always shit on game 1, but I honestly didn't see. I could see Newcastle winning, but I didn't see the demolition that happened. I mean, you know, 5-1. It could have been 8-1. Like Newcastle was so dominant in this game, and I want. I'm going to get in there first because I know you're chomping at the bit for it, Dan. Last week we did predictions where we actually spoke about who we thought maybe would be one of the flops of the season. Dan, who did I say?
Tonali was your.
Yeah. This isn't going well.
You've done all right.
I don't even know why I'm doing this. I clearly don't know a fucking thing about football. I said Tonali would struggle, and I'll be honest, he was probably the best player on the pitch.
He's probably just got an agenda because he looks like Jack. Who knows?
Yeah, he does. He is a spitting image of somebody that we know. But no, I thought that Tonali was actually outstanding. Really, really good. I mean, the fact that he scored so early was sort of hilarious from the point of view of the prediction that I'd made. But it was the desire to get that ball. There was a defender there. What are you looking for?
I was going to try and find Villa's like opening fixtures, but it's proper long trying.
But yeah, like the desire to Tonali showed that he was going to get to that ball before anybody else. I just feel like the overall play that he did, the quality on the ball. I think actually this could be an absolutely outstanding signing for Newcastle. Mm-hmm. I flipped around from what I saw there. If, and it is an if, he can continue that form, Newcastle have got themselves a bargain. 50 million could end up being a bargain for that player.
It's good to change your attitude now, because remember what we done with Haaland last year. We went, he might have got a hat-trick, but...
Yeah, let's wait and see.
But 10 games later, he's 25 goals deep.
I'm not entirely sure how Wolves have not gone one up there against United.
Did he... What? Did he save it?
No, he's just
missed. Wow.
He's just shit. Miller just said there as well, actually, there's a lot of ACL injuries around football at the moment. It's been highlighted a lot in the women's game. Obviously Mings, Courtois.
I think I kicked it all off.
You did, mate. You're the trendsetter. Show you were going to be the last one to get surgery.
Get your tin hat on, Matt.
So anyway, back to Newcastle. They're carrying where they left off from last season. It's always a bit of a, when you've had such an amazing season like they did, it's always a bit of a, especially when you're not the usual top four in inverted commas, it's always interesting to see, can they carry that on? Was that a flash in the pan? Can they kick on again? Champions League football coming up as well. I'm very keen to see how they do in the Champions League. Has this performance and the way they went about it, has this changed your opinion on what you might think Newcastle can do this season? Because I know we talked last week about could they handle Premier League and Champions League at the same time. Has what you've seen here changed anything in your mind?
No, I haven't put them in my Champions League predictions.
You don't think they'll come top four? Good, neither do I.
I don't think they're going to take the Champions League that seriously this season. They don't have the depth. I think they will just prioritise on the league, but it helps with the influx of cash.
They were short of that, to be fair.
Yeah, they haven't got much money. No, I think
it's not just
the
about
the point Pete makes
owners,
is the point Pete makes is obviously FFP is its income versus expenditure. But no, I think they will take. I think they will have a stab at the Champions League.
I feel like they might get carried away with it.
Yeah, it could actually work the other way, that they actually may end up putting too much focus on it because the fans will be expecting them to go hard in the Champions League. This is the first time they've been in Europe's League competition for a long, long time. Probably back since the days of Kevin Keegan, actually. Would he have been the last manager that did it?
Potentially, yeah.
Did Alan Pardew get fourth? Did he? Because he had one really good year when he had like Toyote, Johan Cabaye in midfield, and Ben Arthur.
Papa
Cisse, Demba Ba up front. I feel like they may have got fourth place then.
Maybe.
So, but yeah, Miller as well. Like saying that he thinks they'll come fifth. I think Newcastle will be fifth or sixth. I think Europa League will be about right for them.
Who's he got in his top four then?
Miller, what's your top four? Give us your top four. Mine, off the top of my head, that I put earlier when I did the predictions on our form: Man City first, United second, Arsenal third, and I think that I had. This is what I was saying. I had Chelsea fourth, having seen them at the weekend. I'm not 100% sure, just because of the little bit of lack of quality in front of goal. Weren't able to break Liverpool down, and just the way they started that game. I'm just not entirely sure. Maybe fourth might be just a reach for them this year. I think they'll be there or thereabouts, but I'm questioning that. But then who goes in their place? Because I don't think Liverpool are up to it. I don't think Spurs are up to it.
Yeah.
Newcastle and Aston Villa, I think, are going to be. They're going to contend with Europe. Brighton as well. Brighton could be an outside chance. So realistically, those top three, City, Arsenal and United, those are the ones I feel like are nailed on for Champions League, depending on the order of the second and third. I think we all assume that City are going to come first. So yeah, who comes in fourth? So Miller's saying City, Liverpool, United, Arsenal. He's Liverpool in second.
Yeah, so I put City, Liverpool, Arsenal, United.
You think Liverpool comes second as well? Are we missing something?
I might be pissed or something.
Yeah, no, has something happened that we don't know about? They're very happy Liverpool fans listening to this podcast right now, so just thinking that we're going to think they come second. But I think the transfer window is still open. Let's not forget we've still got 2 weeks of the transfer window yet.
Yeah.
So there's every possibility that clubs are going to dip in again. We did say, didn't we, at the start of this window, at the end of last season, that this window could be a very, very busy one. And it's we've seen some of the deals flying around already, and we're not done. There's, I think Tottenham are going to go out and buy another striker. They can't rely on Richarlison. Is he? Apart from the fact that he's just done another U-turn for the 5th time this summer, and he's about to extend his contract. I think United will dip in as well. Looks like City are going to, potentially be looking at Paquetá or somebody else. Liverpool, as we know, need at least one midfielder, possibly 2. So there's a lot more activity in the transfer window to come yet, I think, before it slams shut. We're looking at the Auburn, the guy that Spurs are looking at. So I've seen that as well. Aston Villa then, just very quickly. Obviously in the Conference League this year, how do we think they're going to do this year? Conference League is. I don't think Villa would have a problem quality-wise, because I think their squad is easily good enough, just like West Ham's was. I think the issue that might get Villa is not the games themselves, it's the travelling. Because you tend to have to travel to more obscure places. Pakistan?
I mean
Kazakhstan. They have to travel to more obscure places in the Conference League for their game. Maybe a bit more draining, maybe a bit more taxing. And if they keep picking up injuries like this, then they might need to dip in the transfer window again. So
Diaby looks good though.
He does. He does look very good. Took his finish really, really well. Watkins. I think we said this last week, didn't we? That I wasn't sold on Watkins as being their only striker.
So hit and miss, isn't he?
Because he's so streaky.
He'll go 5 games in a row scoring goals, and then he will go 5 games not scoring goals.
And I don't. If Aston Villa have ambitions of winning the Conference League, of getting back into Europe via a finish in the Premier League, I'm not sure they can rely on just Watkins. I think they're going to need something else. Yeah. If nothing else, they just need another striker just to give the man a break.
I said that when Ings left for you. Look how that turned out. Ended up bagging goals left, right and centre.
This is true. But look, if they can get Diaby scoring goals and whatever, then who knows? Maybe they can do a Man City and spread the load around their midfield as well. But we shall see. Right, moving on. A couple more games to talk. Brighton against Luton. We'll start talking about Brighton first before we get on to talking about poor old Luton. Brighton looked, for all Luton were poor, Brighton looked very, very good again, didn't they? They've just got this incredible ability, and they do it year after year. No matter what players they lose, no matter who comes in, they find just a way of playing and getting through these games. And Solly March was brilliant in this game. And Ciso was my pick. I thought he was going to have another good season, but he didn't even. I think he got like a minute off the bench. So I think overall, Brighton are in good shape again this year. What did you guys make of their performance?
Yeah, that João Pedro looks quite good as well. Even though I think Welbeck started the game.
No, João Pedro. I think they both started. João Pedro definitely started.
He's the first player to score against. What's that like? Either like newly promoted sides, and they both happen to be Luton Town. No, it was over 2 seasons. Something happened with João Pedro scoring against Luton, and they fucking ate him.
Yeah. I think Brighton. I just love the way they play. I just think they're such an entertaining team to watch, and it looked to me. Okay, granted they were playing Luton. We'll talk about them in a minute. But on the face of it, at least, it very much felt like Caicedo perhaps won't be the miss that we thought he might be. Whether that translates across the entire season, we'll have to wait and see. But they certainly were their same free-flowing attacking selves. So let's talk about Luton. Pete, we predicted at the end of last season that Luton might struggle. Were you expecting this level of struggle? Is this what you thought?
No, seriously not. The style of football that they've played over the past few years in the Championship has always got to me a little bit. It's pretty much like Barnsley, where it's very much hit and hope, but it's a lot of energy. and intensity. Now, when you move to the Premier League, as we all know, that intensity means nothing if you make one mistake. And Luton Town did not make one mistake. They made 10 mistakes in 10 minutes. And I wasn't overly convinced on Brighton's performance, so I'll have to disagree there. While I think they deserve to win, I think, frankly, anyone in the league would probably deserve that win against Luton's performance. You can't give anyone that many opportunities. And like we were saying for the third goal, doing a chest and a couple of keepy-ups 6 yards from your goalkeeper is probably not the smartest idea. They've got a lot to work on and they need to learn very, very quickly.
Yeah, I think baptism of fire is probably the word I'd use. It felt very much like Luton just weren't ready for the Premier League. When I say that, they weren't ready for kind of the intensity, the ruthlessness, the clinical nature of Brighton. They might have got away with some of those in the Championship last year against other weaker teams.
Some teams have actually managed to adapt to me. Teams like Brentford, where we see there's a lot of intensity in that side and they can catch teams on the counter. We've seen plenty of times where it's just been one big hoofball to Tony, whereas Luton don't really have that physical presence up top to sort of hold the ball off. And
Fulham with Mitrovic.
Yeah. So, either they're going to need to have a huge style of play change, which is near on impossible to ask from most teams.
Yeah.
Or they just need to try and do a bit more research on these teams and go into a different approach. Otherwise, they're going to be a real struggle.
Given the home, the situation with their ground is a very old school, to put it nicely, ground. Do you think that their home form is going to be key for them this year? Because you feel like maybe the atmosphere, the unusual style, the unusual ground, that players are going to. Do you think that they might just try and capitalise on that and pick up their points at home this season?
Yeah, with those sorts of stadiums, the 12th man does help a bit, and the ball tends to get sucked into the net. But I don't think it's going to be that much of a help to them this season.
I'm going to remove the chat box from your face. There you go. Yeah, I think Luton are in. It's no surprise that Luton were everyone's favourites to go down before the season started. And I highly doubt that the opinion has changed. I suspect the bookies might even stop taking bets at this point after that performance. Yes. Of the players that Luton have got, Pete, we talked there. Mitrovic with Fulham, Ivan Toney with Brentford. Who is Luton's player? Who in their squad? Who do you think is their player most likely to sort of like at least make them look somewhat capable of getting out of trouble?
Well, the one that I had in my FPL was John Mackey. Didn't even play a single minute. And Tom Lockyer as well.
He was the one that had was he the one that passed out in the final?
Yes.
He was, yeah.
Huge,
good to see him back.
He can be a huge player, but he's a little bit of a loose cannon, which is why I'm not surprised he's on my red cards for this season. I think he's just going to lose his head. But a huge player. Again, Luton are very much one of those teams where it's not an individual, it's more a team. But you do need quality players, and like with Fulham, you've got Mitrovic. You sort of need that standout. Luton don't really have that. They are just a collective. So I don't want to write them off because I feel so shit when I'm writing them off.
I know what you mean.
Who have they got next up?
Isn't it? Because it was their home game.
Been cancelled.
But they've had to cancel. Burnley, that was
it.
Yeah, they've had to cancel it.
They probably could have done with that game. Really.
Yeah, sure. Luton away days must be class, as Miller. I mean, imagine
I can confirm it's not. I've never gone to a football. I went to the pub just round the corner from there, and you walk over this scaffolded staircase and see someone having a barbecue, and probably see someone giving birth on their sofa about 3 doors down. It's really not that exciting, mate.
But imagine if you knew something, you could just like nip in for a quick cup of tea at half time. Screw going down to the burger van or something, just nip round old Barbara's and say, can you put a bit of toast on for me and make me a cup of tea at half time? But it's such a throwback almost, isn't it? It's almost like you're going through a time portal, like the old Doctor Who TARDIS. You know, you've got all these such modern stadiums like the Emirates, like White Hart Lane, and then you see Grigg Lane, you think, am I in a different fucking country? Like, what is this? It's incredible that is a Premier League stadium.
Old school.
Kenilworth, sorry, not Grigg Lane. Grigg Lane is Bury, isn't it? Yeah. Luton to finish above Sheffield United was...
Well, maybe by position.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, they're still going down, both of them. So, right, okay, let's move on. The final game we're going to talk about is Brentford against Spurs. This was the first game on Super Sunday, 2 o'clock. Interesting game, this one, because we got to see two clubs trying to adapt to life without their main strikers. We'll come to Spurs in a minute. Brentford without Ivan Toney until January, as we know. I felt like they did okay. I felt like they pushed the ball around and they still look dangerous going forward, and Buemo looks like he is going to be heavily involved in everything that they do.
He looked sharp.
He did look sharp. He should have scored the one that came across goal.
Do you have him in an FPL?
No. But I'm tempted to put him in at some point just because the way he took that penalty, and he will be a penalty taker.
The tinkler.
Yeah. So LMA all over again, isn't it? I know what'll happen. I'll put him in, he'll get injured or he'll just stop scoring
Yeah,
anyway.
don't put him in, please.
I'll let you know when I do so you can take him out. So, but no, I think they look good. To be honest, I've not really seen a great deal in terms of new signings. What have they signed this year? Anybody off the top of your head? I don't think they've signed many, if they have. But
goalkeeper, Flecken.
Yeah, obviously David Raya off to Arsenal. To me, it was just a continuation from Brentford. They just seem to just turn up, do their job, and get results.
Good to see they can still get a result without turning the team as well.
Yeah. What Dan, you were going to say?
I was just going to say, that's a strange one, Raya to Arsenal.
I can't really work that one out because Arteta, I'm pretty sure, was at the club the last time he had two good goalkeepers there, and it didn't work out well. Martinez went to Villa. So I'm not really sure what the thinking is here because I don't see him dropping Ramsdale. Ramsdale...
There was some disgruntlement with Ramsdale. He wasn't confident, or someone wasn't confident that Ramsdale could hold up to the pressure. But from last season, he seemed to be pretty good.
I mean, you've only got to cast my mind back to one or two games in particular, the Liverpool games towards the end of last season. I know they ended up not winning the league anyway, so it didn't matter. But he basically single-handedly got them a point that day.
Against Leicester at the start of the season as well.
Yeah, I mean, he is an incredible shot stopper. I would say, though, that with the ball at his feet, Ramsdale is questionable. He is prone to mistakes, so that might be where their thinking is. It would take some bollocks, though, from Arteta, given how things are going, for him to drop his goalkeeper and bring and do that. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Raya is only on loan. It's worth noting, a $3 million loan fee with a $27 million option to buy it at the end of next season. So we'll have to wait and see there. Let's switch tacks then back to the Brentford Spurs game. Let's talk about Spurs. We'll start with Harry Kane. We've got to talk about that. The move that finally went through. Caught a few FPL people out as it did with P, but the overall sentiment here is that this is a good move for Harry Kane. Where do you guys come down on this? Do you think this is a good move, a sensible move? Are you surprised that he's gone to Bayern Munich?
Not really. I mean, he was linked there for most of the season, like end of last season and summer, really. I think it just took a long time to go through.
I'm surprised by the fee. This is not typical of a German side to spend that sort of money.
No. God knows how much it would have been for an English club.
Well,
this is Daniel Levy we're talking about.
Though, would he?
I was going to say, just won't sell him.
I think it's a good move for him.
Yeah.
It's a shame, I think, for the Premier League to be losing him.
Yeah, agreed.
I just think the manner in how it was done is a bit off to me. I mean, to get rid of him a day or two before the season starts.
Because he's in your FPL.
No, it's not even because of that. One reason because of that, but he's a main part of what that Spurs side was, and to get rid of him 2 or 1 day before the Premier League season actually starts, it throws the whole team under the bus in a way, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is that, I mean, we've obviously, whenever these things happen, whenever you get these long sagas that happen, you normally always get more information about what's gone on behind the scenes after it's happened. And what we've had so far is we've had Ange Postecoglou sort of saying that from day one, when he had a chat with Harry Kane said he wanted to go. There was never any question that it sounded like he wanted to stay. I'm sure if it hadn't worked out that he would have carried on playing and would have been professional and all that. But Harry Kane made it very clear that he was not interested in staying on the assumption that a move came forward. Harry Kane has obviously since given interviews and talked about his reasons. He said that he didn't want to regret not trying a different culture, a different league, and all that kind of stuff. So I sort of get that. And he also hinted at coming back as well, because the question was put to him about Alan Shearer's Premier League record. Alan Shearer's had a whale of a time with this, by the way. I don't know if you saw Match of the Day when Gary Lineker gave him his pilot hat and told him to put that back on because he was insinuating that Shearer had flown into Germany. But he did hint that, you know, he's got plenty of years left in the tank, plenty of gas in the tank, and hinted that he may yet still be interested in coming back and maybe looking to try and break the record later. The problem is I think he's like 40 odd goals, about 42 goals behind, something like that.
Signed a 4-year contract.
Well, that would put him to about 34. 42 goals, unless he has two absolute worldies, that's minimum 2 years if he has two amazing seasons, more likely 3 or 4 seasons. Is he going to be able to break that record at 3 or 4 seasons at the age of 38? Who knows?
I just don't get why would you play him through pre-season? That's the only part that I don't understand about it.
Just in case he didn't
Just in
go,
case,
I guess,
yeah. I mean, if Harry Kane was of the mindset, look, I'm obviously 100% committed if I don't move. So Postecoglou's like, well, this is Daniel Levy we're talking about here. You know, he can hold. I mean, apparently Spurs even got a bit funny with him on the plane. Apparently, like, got confirmation that he could fly over there for medical, and then he was at the airport, and they rang him and said, "No, don't go yet," or something like that. So he had to turn around. Fucking Daniel Levy just like he couldn't help just one last fucking dig at Harry Kane before he went.
It's like Love Actually.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly that. So, so I think that this is going to be a real adjustment, and you know, there's been a number of clubs this summer that have lost talismanic players. Now, you know, you look at West Ham losing Rice, Kane going, Southampton losing Ward-Prowse. These are players that have been with their club a long time. Phil Jones, exactly. Yeah. Harry Maguire could be going. I mean, what on earth will you do other than celebrate wildly?
I mean, all these legends are leaving the club.
McFred is no longer a thing. We have dined out on McFred for the last 3 seasons of this podcast. Whatever will we do now? So, yeah, it's been a summer of big transfers and big moves. How did you feel going back to the game? How did you feel Spurs dealt without Kane in this game? Obviously, early days, first game, I know.
To be honest, I don't actually... Because I was driving at the time, so I was just listening to it, and then I just watched the highlights. So I don't really know like what formations and stuff they were playing, but I feel like Son would be better through the middle. But I think they were playing Richarlison as a false 9. Weren't they?
Yeah, for me, Richarlison is not going to be the replacement. I still think he's a good player and a useful player, and I think he will get them goals. The trouble is that what you're trying to replace is a man who scored. Dan's having kittens here. This is quite end to end. This Man United Wolves game is very end to end here. You're trying to replace a striker that scores 20 to 25 goals every single season.
With one that scored
4 offside goals.
Exactly. He got more yellow cards for celebrating offside goals than he did actual goals. Look, I still think Richarlison will probably get 10 goals, maybe 15, an absolute push. Just because he's going to be a bit more of the main man. He's not got Conte there, who he obviously didn't like. He'll have a bit more. He'll be more important to the team. He will spend less time on the bench. All those things. However, if they want to get back into Europe's elite competitions or Europe in general, I'm not sure Richarlison is the striker that's going to do it. No. Despite the fact that he is Brazil's number 9 and seems to perform very much better for Brazil, it's probably because he's got players like Vinicius Junior and Paquetá around him. And Neymar. I'm just not convinced right now that Richarlison is the man who's going to do it. Miller says that, because Miller's a Spurs fan, he says they played a 4-3-3. Pretty sure it was Son, Kulusevski, and Richarlison was the front 3. I will say this though, it wasn't all doom and gloom for Spurs. I thought James Maddison was very good. We all thought he would be a good signing anyway.
His free kick for the first goal.
His free kick was unbelievable. Headed in by a man who already had concussion, and I can't imagine the ball hitting him in the face at that sort of pace did that any good. But yeah, Maddison for me is going to be a brilliant player for them. Yeah. He's going to be on set pieces. He's going to be on, he's going to be involved in everything. He could be another one to keep an eye on for FPL for certain. I don't think he's that expensive. I think he's like 7.5 mil. So defensively though,
It's always going to be an issue.
not convinced at all by that defence at all.
Eric Dyer out of the squad as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, we thought that was a good. I mean, Emerson Royale, to me, he just looks so clumsy. I mean, he took it. In fairness, his goal was pretty good, but from a defensive point of view, he looks so awkward. Like, he just looks like he's about to fall over his own feet at any moment. Obviously, Christian Romero going off did seem to have a difference to the team because he is probably their best defender. That did seem to knock them a little bit. So, talking of teams that are likely to be active in the transfer window between now and the end, I think Spurs will be in for some. They've got to spend some money that came on bringing either. For me, they've probably got to bring in a striker and at least one defender.
It was weird not seeing Lloris in goal as well.
Yeah, so apparently they offered him to Real Madrid and to Inter Milan. Got turned down both times. There's talk now of maybe an extension at Spurs.
Really?
Apparently so. Miller can maybe confirm.
He's a free agent, isn't he?
No, I know, but I think they might just sign him on a 1 year.
Getting back.
Yeah.
Well,
Miller can maybe confirm in checks. I know he's across all this sort of stuff with Spurs, but I was only under the impression that Lloris may yet still be a goalkeeper for Spurs.
Speaking of it, what about Lukaku?
Are you talking about Juventus? You're talking about the Juventus reaction? Yeah.
Juventus,
So,
with all the
I mean, can someone explain
drama.
like how has it got to this point? Lukaku is now universally hated by the entire country of Italy because Inter Milan fans don't want him.
They do that though, don't they?
Yeah.
The Italians love a.
They're just sort of like because of all these ultras. I mean, we cast our mind back to last season when the AC Milan ultras were basically talking to the AC Milan players and giving them a telling off like they were school children. We saw the Napoli manager getting his own property handed back to him just because he won the league last year, stolen 2 years previous or whatever it was. And now we've got a
goal.
Tell me who scored.
Varane.
Rafael Varane.
We're getting that clean sheet. Come on.
Yeah, hopefully that was a Rashford assist.
Wan-Bissaka.
I'm sure there's somebody.
He's got the shirt on tonight as well. Like a charm.
Needed that.
So yeah, and now we get to a situation with Lukaku. They're not wanted by Inter Milan. He's currently obviously at Chelsea. It's easy to forget that he is actually back at Chelsea. Clearly not getting anywhere near Chelsea's starting lineup. Or even it wouldn't surprise me if he's not even named in their 25.
Yeah.
Even in an emergency, I think they won't play him. Inter Milan don't want him, and now Juventus, who have been heavily linked with him, which is one of the reasons why Inter Milan don't want him, is because he was going behind their back trying to organise a move to Juventus. Juventus fans went onto the pitch and protested against the potential purchase of Lukaku. You've got your prospective club has basically said no to the point that they invaded the pitch and committed a criminal act of invasion just to make sure that you don't sign for the club. It's absolutely brilliant. So what is next for Lukaku? I mean, on the top we'll say on him, but what is next for Lukaku? Where does he go?
It's funny though.
MLS, Saudi Arabia.
Listening to a stat the other day.
More in danger.
Like Lukaku. I'm going to butcher this stat as well.
I thought he was a stat man.
I know. As soon as I started saying that, I thought I don't
Give him
actually
pig
know
brief earlier.
I remember listening to it and thinking, oh, okay. But he's scored like second most Premier League goals, like for different clubs or something like that.
Well, he's played for 4 Premier League clubs, or is it 5? 4. Everton, West Brom, Chelsea, United. His name is Spurs. I know Miller would love Lukaku.
With everything going on, that is the most Spursy purchase. So
it's just amazing to me that this player, who for most of his, certainly the early part of his career, was basically like the next big thing. And
so
then
West Brom as well.
Yeah, West Brom, Everton, Chelsea, and United. It really does. Miller's just saying there that Lloris, sorry, is maybe in talks with Lazio, so maybe I am wrong. Yeah, like Lukaku, for most of his young part of his career, was touted as the next big thing. You know, when he had that loan move from Chelsea to like West Brom and then to Everton, you know, he was an absolute he was one of those players you wanted in your team all the time. He scored some massive goals, and then as his career went on, his physique changed a little bit. He then started to get this reputation of not really being able to sort of control the football, not scoring or turning up in big games. Then he goes abroad to Italy, absolutely tears it up for Inter Milan in his first spell. Has always been very good for Belgium, by the way. He's got an incredible scoring record for Belgium. And now all of a sudden we're sitting in a situation where there are clubs who are refusing, even just based on rumours at this point, even if it is concrete interest or not, they don't want him to come. So, like, is his career at the top level, is it over? Is it done? Where next? Where can he go?
There's got to be someone there for him. The only problem with him is he'll either have a really good game or he'll play like he's on day release. So
the problem is with Lukaku is he can't shut his fucking mouth. Every time he goes to a club or whatever, he bad-mouths his previous club.
Yeah.
So he's currently sat at Chelsea. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he's not even like training, he's just at home. Because the shit he said about Chelsea over the time, I mean, I sort of half put it out there towards the end of last season that maybe with Pochettino coming in, maybe, you know, them needing a striker as well. This was before they got Jackson and Kunku. That maybe they could maybe try and do something with Lukaku to bring him back into the fold, maybe rejuvenate and maybe try and repair those bridges that he burned when he went to Milan. But clearly, you know, from what we've seen, that's not going to happen.
No.
Anyway, back to Spurs then. Just quickly, what do we envisage for the season for Spurs? What's a realistic? Now they've got rid of Kane. What's realistic for them? Do you think?
Where's that buzzer from your phone?
Well, sometimes maybe good.
Sometimes maybe shit.
What, like position-wise?
Yeah, I think that it's going to depend on how that we probably need to have this conversation again at the end of the transfer window to see what they brought in. For me, I think that I don't think Ted Lasso would take him for AFC Richmond. I think that if Spurs don't replace Kane, if they don't bring anybody else as of right now, this is their squad for the season. I'm not sure they're making Europe this year. I think there are other teams from, you know, you look at the teams who were out of it last year. Liverpool were out of it for large parts. Chelsea were out of it massively last season. With Brighton, Villa and Newcastle now in that group now who are challenging for Europe, I'm not sure Spurs have got enough to get amongst that across an entire season. I think they need more, especially if Son has another season like he did last year. For Tottenham to do anything this year, Son has to step up now. Son has to try and find that form that he had a few years ago. But obviously, you know, him and Kane had that partnership that was so fruitful together. He doesn't have that anymore. So he's either got to try and build one now with Richarlison or with somebody else, or just take the game on the scruff of the neck and do it himself. So we shall see. Right. Let's move on then. We're going to now into the transfer section, Dan. So get your phone out, get your notes and bits and pieces out. And we will talk through some of the rumours and transfers and bits and pieces that are currently going on. So, Dan, when you're ready, I can only fill for so long, mate, so I'll bring it up on your phone.
Froze. Good as it. Anywho. Well, I mean, let's start off with West Ham. So you've just signed Ward-Prowse, haven't you?
We have, yeah.
Fantastic signing. What a guy.
Yeah, 30 million I think is a good price for him as well. I think that the one thing that's going to endear him to the West Ham fans the most is his work rate, because he just, you know, will put himself on the line and live and die for it. I would also like to say, actually, last week, Dan, we spoke about obviously West Ham last week and what was going on with their transfer situation. And one player I mentioned was Souček, and I didn't think he was good enough. Ironically, he's just about to sign a new contract if he hasn't already. And Flynn Downs is now going on loan to Southampton, apparently, going the other way. And ironically, I was kind of thinking, well, let's keep Downs because he can do something. Souček, shit, get rid of him. But now, what's happened is that in the first game of the season, Souček looked like the player that we first bought. Because, and I was trying to think about, well, why is that happening? The only thing I can think of is that Rice going has now allowed him to go back to the role that he was when he first joined, and being a bit more of a box-to-box, arriving late in the box, winning headers, doing less of the keep ball possession-based stuff that he was required to do last season, because West Ham were so focused on pushing Rice up the pitch that Souček had to do that CDM stuff. Now it's the other way around. And with Alvarez coming in now, Alvarez can do that, and Souček can now push a little bit higher on. So actually, Souček might still have a place in the squad, or a place in the team. Ward-Prowse coming in is massive. His set piece ability for West Ham is going to be so big. if we do sign Slabhead, then there's every chance he'll get a lot of goals this season because of Ward-Prowse's delivery. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in a West Ham shirt. I'm looking forward to West Ham hopefully signing one or two more. But Alvarez and Ward-Prowse are good signings and hopefully will help us bridge the gap. I really don't want us to sell Paquetá. I don't want us to sell our two best players in the same fucking window. That would be... I think West Ham fans will get very, very annoyed at that.
The ambition will soon be questioned.
Very much so. And look, I don't have a problem with Paquetá wanting to go to Man City. You know, Man City are now... They're in that group of clubs now, Man City, where you can't say no. They're in that Barcelona, that Real Madrid category where you can't almost say no to them now.
Yeah.
So I don't mind, and apparently he's being very professional. He's still playing, he's still training. He's fine with staying if that's how it transpires. But he's basically said that if Man City come in with a reasonable offer and West Ham accept it, he will go. Which is fine, fair enough. But now it's down to West Ham. He's got an 85 million release clause that doesn't activate until next year. I think we have to keep hold of him for one more year and then see how it plans out across the year. Hope that maybe Man City go and buy somebody else and then don't need Paquetá next year. Or at the very least it gives us a year to plan without him. Because who knows, we might even have a different manager next year. One can hope.
Well, I mean, you planned for Declan Rice to come a year ago and...
Took us most of the transfer window to fucking replace him, yeah.
I don't get why they do that. I really don't get it.
I can only presume this is West Ham hilariously playing hardball because they obviously played hardball with Arsenal to get the price they wanted. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, West Ham have got 105 million to spend. Let's up the price by 10 million. And West Ham have gone, no, that's not fair. That's not market value. And so, well, hang on a minute. You just did that to Arsenal. So
stonks.
Yeah, exactly. So there's probably a bit of that. But look, if we can make a few more signings, then I think we'll be okay. And then the question marks will then all be on Moyes as to how he can integrate these new players. Can he change the system in some way to make us a bit more attacking? But I'd be very surprised if those things happen.
Yeah.
Talking about West Ham.
Nice.
Anthony Martial was set to hold talks over his future at Manchester United, with West Ham one of 3 clubs interested in him.
There's 2 Uniteds then.
I mean, and McTominay, you could be 3. West Ham's history of strikers is fucking atrocious, right?
Give us the stat.
Is it 53?
Since you've been taken over, since 2010, you've had 51 or 53 strikers, which have netted you a total of 48 goals or something like that.
Excellent. We are 6 years into this experiment to put Antonio up front, and he's still our only good striker. We've had Haller, who was amazing before us, was shit with us, amazing after us, because these managers actually knew what they were doing. I guarantee you, Scamacca will set the world alight at Atlanta, because he looked. I mean, he got 8 goals in 24 games for us last year in a very injury-hit season.
Torino?
Sassuolo. So I think he'll go there and he'll have an amazing season. And it would just be further evidence. When are the West Ham hierarchy going to realise it's not the players? And you know what?
You go, we set him off.
You fucking done me, boys. I'm off.
West Ham ones.
Well, I'm going to bring another one in because the news today is that fucking Jesse Lingard is training with West Ham.
Oh.
To supposedly keep his fitness up, but you know that David Moyes is going to be fingering him behind the bike shed trying to get him to join. I can't we've been trying to buy this fucker for 4 years. He doesn't want to play for us. All he wants to do is go and do his esports stuff. Oh my God, West Ham, do my head in. Oh, you've round me up now, move on.
I'm just going to Twitter search Paquetá and see what happens.
Well, Romano tweeted earlier that talks were progressing. So it's looking likely as things stand that he could go.
Newcastle are looking to secure a loan move for either Kieran Tierney or Cucurella.
Interesting. I can see Kieran Tierney happening. Potentially third choice left back now with Timber there. With Zinchenko as well. I'd be surprised if Cucurella goes just yet. Chilwell's injury history. I know they used Maatsen at the weekend instead of Cucurella when they took. Did Chilwell go off? He did go off, didn't he, towards the end? But Cucurella has been shit, like really shit for Chelsea. So it wouldn't surprise me if Chelsea are looking to potentially move him on. Needs a fresh start, I think. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's just not Mind you, Chelsea had a terrible season. To be fair to them.
This is true. Could he be better in a better team that's playing better football? Because he was very good at Brighton. Let's put that out there. So he's clearly not a bad player. But like so many others, he just looked awful.
I think we said with Chelsea, if any manager's going to get the best out of those players, it would be someone like Poch. So,
one more.
Go on in.
Don't know how true this one is, but apparently Tottenham are considering a move for Folarin Balogun.
Oh, the Arsenal striker. See, he was. Where was he on loan last year?
The French team. What was the one with the English bloke in charge?
Is it Rennes?
Is it Rennes or
Possibly.
Reims?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I can't remember.
But yeah, he's apparently. I was reading on social media that Arsenal fans were not particularly impressed with him in pre-season, which is why he probably won't get a look in at Arsenal ahead of Jesus or Nketiah. So we'll have to wait and see whether he's going to be moved on or not. I think it'll be a good signing. Would it be a good signing for Spurs? He's an untested striker. Would Spurs be better off going to find a bit more of an established striker that they kind of know a little bit more about what they're getting? And also Balogun, because he needs to understand going from Arsenal to Spurs. That's a cardinal sin.
Yeah,
Sol Campbell-esque, exactly. Just quickly talk about Neymar, the latest player heading to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Obviously, you mentioned Mbappe earlier. I can't be asked to go into that because that's ridiculous. Would you like to hear Neymar's salary? Anyone fancy being jealous?
750,000.
So a transfer fee of 69.1 million has been agreed with PSG. He's very injury prone, by the way, so let's put that out there.
His sister's birthday.
And he doesn't play at certain times of the year because of his sister's birthday. Apparently £86.4 million per annum. 6 times his wage that he was getting at PSG. 6 times his wage.
You can sort of understand why they're going out there.
I mean, look, he's 31. He's accomplished pretty much everything in football, bar the World Cup.
So his wage this season will cost more than his transfer fee.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it will. It's an astonishing amount of money. I mean, somebody did message earlier with the was it in our chat, Dan, to do with the actual sort of breakdown of the money that he earns per minute and stuff. Yeah, here it is. It was Lee that sent it for earlier. So his yearly salary, according to this, actually, he was reported as 138 million. So I don't know whether that's including bonuses and shit. Let's break it down then. So what that works out is monthly 11.5 million, weekly 2.6 million, daily £379,000 a day. Let that fucking sink in. £15,796 per hour, £263 every minute, £4.39 every single second. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like, how do you even contemplate those sorts of wages? I just don't get it at all. Yeah, whatevs. I just realised we've had music playing for this entire podcast. Let's hope that's not been fucking coming through the old speakers, otherwise that might make things interesting when I'm doing the edit. So yeah, we'll end things there. Is there anything in the chat that anyone wants to shout out for us? Have any got any Miller? Any questions? I think it might just be yourself that's in there. We had some other people in throughout the show. I was looking at the number, but it looks like it's just yourself there, Miller. Anything you want to shout out or point out that we've missed? Any big transfers we should be mentioning? I'll give you a second or two. The other thing I was going to mention actually was there was another transfer. Sadio Mane. He's the other one that went to Saudi Arabia. Apparently he got massively disrespected by Bayern Munich. Apparently the owners, is it borderline racism, I think almost, that they just basically couldn't deal with the fact that an African player had come in and was basically top earner at the club, and they just basically wanted him out.
Really?
Yeah. They priced him at a certain amount of money and then decided that because he trained really well that they were going to put another 10 million on his price. And just a horrible story. Obviously, he had the issue with Leroy Sané, didn't he? But for a player of his quality that we saw at Liverpool, for him to sort of go to Bayern Munich and have his career fizzle out is a real shame, because he still had a lot to give.
It's like with Jordan Henderson as well, when they greyed out his armband because he had the Pride armband. There's a lot of things that we probably shouldn't really speak about. But
there's so much of this sort of stuff that.
Oh no! I said there was going to be.
That's how Cucurella's just run on the pitch.
I said there was going to be a fucking pitch invasion. I missed out on it.
So, right, only that 150 million for Caicedo is a joke. That's a lot of money for a player that cost Brighton $4.5 million. Right, okay then, guys, we are going to leave things there. I pray to God that the music that was playing in the background isn't going to be overpowering. It should be okay because it's on low. This one was always going to be a little bit of a sort of a trial by fire, a little bit, doing something like this new. But anyway. Right, thank you very much, everyone, for listening to the show. We'll be back next week. Oh, yeah, we'll do the stat. Go on, then. Don't roll your eyes at me.
Well, I can't even be asked then. So 5 players made their overall Premier League debuts for Chelsea against Liverpool. The joint most for the Blues in a match since 2004.
So, if my assumption is right, and it was when their money came in, I will say Ian Robin.
Nope.
Joe Cole.
Nope.
Lampard.
Nope.
Sean Wright-Phillips.
Nope.
Drogba.
Yep.
Who else might have been there from a younger age? Gallas.
Nope.
Anelka. Was he later, wasn't he?
Kalou.
No.
Good start.
Crespo.
No.
Shevchenko.
No.
Fucking hell. 2004. Who else would have been there?
My keeper.
What, Czech?
Check.
Czech.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
2004.
Wayne Bridge.
No.
2004. It's almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
2 of them, I think, are defenders, and I don't know what that guy was. I might have to quickly Google him.
Great. So I'm not getting
We ain't
that
getting
one.
that one, yeah, then, yeah.
So he was a striker, apparently.
Ashley Cole?
No.
He was a striker, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh dear, looking at a penalty.
Oh, get fucked if they're going to give that in the 96th minute.
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get these. I was quite confident with some of those other guesses. So one's a striker, two of them are defenders.
I remember because there was
Matthias Kesman.
Yep.
What the fuck? Where'd that come from?
I'm just trying to think of obscure strikers.
So that's 3 of them, right?
Yeah, so we've got 2 defenders.
2 defenders.
John Terry, isn't it?
No.
He's going to have a look at the monitor.
Oh, it means they're going to give it.
I don't know why I'm laughing, because this just means no fucking clean sheet for sure. This is just the icing on the cake.
He'd already headed it. That's the thing. Like,
when he's giving away a penalty, he's going to get a card too. Fuck's sake.
Oh, hang on. What's going on there? Is he giving a penalty or not? Is he just... Oh, he's just giving a yellow to Gary O'Neill. He's not...
I don't think I'm going to get these 2.
No, I'm not sure either.
no. Carvalho
Oh, Ricardo Carvalho.
and Ferreira.
Paulo Ferreira, yeah. Right, well, okay, can I end the show now? Is that right?
Yeah.
Thanks, mate. Right, thank you very much for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week. As I say, you might have to bear with us for the first week or 2 while we get our, shit together for this. Well, I get my shit together because it's my computer and my stuff that's doing this. And if it goes wrong, it will be my fault. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to the show, and we'll see you all next week.
See you later.
Right, so that's the end of the podcast. We are now going to end the stream. Miller, I can't believe we're in the stream for this time, and you told me that music was playing. Didn't tell me the music was playing. Although I guess actually you probably wouldn't have known that that wasn't deliberate, so I'll let you off. I hope to God that that's not screwed up the...
What music have you got on in the background?
So what I tend to do is I have a little bit of music, just like some chill music in the background playing when we start the stream, when there's nothing going on. And because I can't hear it, I didn't know it was
on.
playing, and it's just been left on the whole time. But it is turned down to like -20, and our voices are a lot more overpowering. So even though the music is there, it shouldn't be too overpowering. So I'll have to. So Miller, were we nice and clear? Could you hear us clearly above and beyond the music? How was that not a pen? I'll be honest, Miller. I need something from this weekend, so just let me have a clean sheet for sure,
He just
please.
comes back and says, "I couldn't hear a single word."
Yeah. Well, he was interacting with us the whole time, wasn't he?
He had subtitles on.
A private plane. I don't know if it used to, a private plane at his disposal. A huge house with staff. 80,000 bonus for every Al Halil win. £500,000 for every post or story he puts on his social media that promotes Saudi Arabia. Fucking hell! I'd literally just sit there just posting all day. That's mad. Absolutely mad. But he said no. He said the us voices were coming over. When I listened to
It's
it
not
back,
even him that does it either. It'll be his team that like promote Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, she ain't got to do nothing. If I might put my application into name. I say, do you want a social media guy? I'll do that for a 10% cut. Okay. Well, hopefully that sounds okay. And then what I'll do is on the edit, I might just record something first. Just say, sorry, I left the music on.
That's the win in the clean sheet that I wanted.
It is indeed.
Sorted.
Right. There we go then. First live stream in the books. Did you hear back from the hospital today, by the way, about dates for your surgery?
No, they sent me a text and then I tried to call back, so I'm going to call him in the morning.
Okay. So what we'll have to do, because obviously he's got his surgery potentially in the next few weeks, so we're going to have to I'm going to have to get Lico and Josh in as much as possible to fill it out, just to give us that 3.
I mean, I might end up staying at my mum. I most likely will stay at my mum's because it'd just be a lot easier than staying at this house.
Yeah, to be honest, you might want to come round just to get out of the house.
So most likely we'll carry on, but we'll see. Maybe like 1 week I'll have off just because I'll probably be in immense pain. But
I was going to say, yeah, it depends on how much you're going to be actually moving around.
And if I don't play well, I won't want.
Yeah, you can be like high as a kite on med drugs as well. It'd be quite funny having you on like high meds on the podcast. I just got on and missed the live. One more game. What do you mean, Piker? Welcome in anyway, but yes, unfortunately you have just missed the podcast. We've just literally finished recording it. Cheers, Miller. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you being here for the show tonight.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
Oh, obviously last week you weren't here. We were talking about some other bits and pieces to go through. We've got that money that Dave McGregor, bless him, has been sending through this entire time on Patreon. So we've got some money to use for advertising, and bits and pieces. If we can get the show to the point where we're getting a good chunk of listeners every week, might start seeing if I can be cheeky and get a sponsor from somewhere. Because what we can do, you know how like we usually put like a break in the middle.
Yeah.
We can go back to doing that. I know we didn't do it tonight. We can go back to that. Then have an advert in the middle of the show for somebody to promote, advertise their website, whatever they do. Just see if we can raise some more funds for the show that way.
Cracking.
Richie hat-trick next week. Enjoy that also. Yeah, get a hat-trick, mate. Hat-trick of disallowed goals, maybe. Richarlison, yeah. So, right, we are going to end this, end the stream there, everybody. Thank you very much for everyone that tuned in and listened. We'll be back next Monday doing the same thing from about 8:30. So if you want to tune in then, you can. Of course, this live stream will be able to be watched back fairly quickly after we finish as well. So you can always go back and listen if you want to. So, yeah, thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you all next week.
See you later.